Are you ready for another deep dive? Today, we are going to be looking at something really fascinating. Something that I know you're personally interested in, providing care for aging parents, specifically in Nigeria. And I know you've been looking into GeroCare.
Yeah.
You sent over some YouTube interviews and a couple of keynote speeches, lots to dig into.
A lot of great material there. And
Yeah.
it looks like GeroCare is onto something. A lot of people really seem to be responding to what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely a need there.
Huge need.
So to kind of start us off, when I was looking at all of this, the thing that really jumped out was Dr. Ofrey's story, the founder of GeroCare, his dad having 2 strokes in 1 year.
Oh, wow.
And then, that phone call that he got from his mom, it's really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it really underlines just how common this situation is. For so many Nigerians, especially those who are living abroad, when his mom said she felt neglected? It wasn't just out of medical care. It was the feeling of not being there, not being able to support your parents, even emotionally, from far away.
And that feeling that he had really resonated with so many people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And a lot of the material that you sent me, that was a recurring theme, this feeling of responsibility and at the same time, helplessness.
Yeah.
Like, how can you be sure that your parents are okay when you're so far away? Especially, when you consider that in developing countries, there's like a 75% chance of losing at least one parent before you're even 40.
Wow, yeah. That's a crazy stat. So let's talk about how GeroCare is tackling this. They've got this system, the cloud-based system, and a mobile app to connect users with doctors who make home visits. So what do you think about this model? Especially when you think about Nigeria's healthcare system. What are your thoughts on how that's all going to work?
Well, it's interesting because it seems like GeroCare is really bridging a gap. So on the one hand, you have a healthcare system that isn't really equipped to provide that consistent personalized care for the elderly.
Right.
But then on the other hand, you have all of these Nigerians who are really tech savvy. They're comfortable doing things digitally, and this app provides that connection, right?
Right.
Knowing when the doctor arrives, getting a visit summary, it's kind of like you're there yourself.
Yeah, peace of mind delivered straight to your phone.
Exactly. And it's interesting, too, that there's this real emphasis on preventative care, which is smart, right?
Yeah.
Because even in countries with more advanced healthcare, a lot of deaths are preventable. So cutting things early is really key.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop at the doctor visit either, right?
No, not at all.
It's medication delivery, it's home sample collection, specialist consultations. They really seem to offer the whole package.
Yeah, it's very comprehensive. And I think a lot of that comes from Dr. Ofrey's own experience in providing offline care before GeroCare even started.
Right.
He really saw the value of spending time with older patients and understanding their needs. And that seems to be built into GeroCare's whole philosophy, this human touch.
Now, I did see this term in the material you sent, consultant oversight.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So it's like an added layer of quality control. Senior doctors, they review the reports from the doctors that do the home visits. It ensures that everyone's following best practices, that everything is consistent, and, that there's accountability, which is important because you're working with a whole network of doctors.
So it's not just convenience, but it's also maintaining a certain standard.
Exactly. And it seems like they are. I saw that in one of the sources they mentioned having a really high net promoter score, the NPS.
Okay, now for anyone who doesn't know what NPS is, why is that significant? Could you explain that a little bit?
Sure. NPS basically measures customer satisfaction and loyalty. It's like, how likely are you to recommend this service to others?
Right.
So a high NPS means people are happy. They trust the company.
So that's a really good sign for GeroCare. Let's get back to that human element for a minute. Nigeria's got lots of different cultures and languages. So how does GeroCare address that when we're talking about something as sensitive as elderly care?
Well, one thing Dr. Ofrey really stressed in one of the interviews was hiring doctors from the local communities they serve. So you have doctors who understand the customs, the dialects. They can connect with patients in a way that's culturally sensitive. And that makes a huge difference, especially for older patients who might be more comfortable in their native language.
Right. It's all about building that trust. It's not just a business transaction. It's really about establishing a connection.
Exactly. And, it's something that Dr. Ofrey learned from experience when he was doing that offline care. Some patients would open up to him in a way that they wouldn't with doctors who weren't from the same background. It's just a level of comfort and understanding that you can't get any other way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the origin story, the tech behind it all, this human element. Now I want to zoom out a little bit and look at the bigger picture. What is GeroCare hoping to achieve in the long term? Where did they see themselves in the future of elder care, not just in Nigeria, but globally?
It seems like Dr. Ofrey's vision is really ambitious.
Yeah.
I mean, he wants GeroCare to be the gold standard in elder care, not just in Nigeria, but all across Africa, maybe even globally.
Yeah, that's a big goal. And it seems like they're making moves. I was really intrigued by the partnership with Oriki Spa. It's not something you usually see with a healthcare company.
It is a little unusual, but I think it shows their commitment to this holistic approach to well-being. It's not just medical. They're thinking about the whole person, mental, emotional, even spiritual. In one of those keynotes, Dr. Ofrey talked about how vital it is for older people to feel valued and pampered and connected to their communities. So partnering with Oriki Spa, it's like a way to really put those ideas into action.
Yeah, it's almost like they're redefining aging gracefully. It's not just about being healthy, but really having a good quality of life.
Exactly. And I think that resonates with a lot of people, especially, people who are worried about their parents' mental and emotional well-being. It's one thing to know that your parents are getting their meds and checkups, but it's another to know that they're also being taken care of in a way that really nourishes their spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I know this is something that a lot of people are wondering about. Cost. What about cost?
Well, GeroCare has a few different plans, to fit different budgets. They have an on-demand service, you pay per visit. That's good for like occasional checkups or something unexpected happens. But their subscription plans, I think that's where you see the value.
So it's kind of like a health insurance plan.
Yeah, you can think of it that way. It's a set fee every month, and that covers all sorts of services, doctor visits, meds, access to their support team. And the idea is that it's preventative. So instead of waiting for something to go wrong, you're really taking care of their long-term health and well-being.
And I imagine the plans are pretty flexible because not everyone has the same needs, right?
Absolutely. You can choose how often you want the doctor visits, monthly, every other month, every 3 months. You can add things like medication management or even specialist consultations. It's
Yeah.
really all about making a plan that works for your specific family.
That makes sense. So let's say someone's listening to this and they're ready to get started. What's the process like for their parents?
It's actually pretty easy. You can sign up right on their website or through the app. You put in your parents' information and pick a plan. Then, GeroCare finds a doctor who's close by to your parents and contacts them to schedule that first visit.
I really like how they make sure to hire local doctors. It just adds that extra layer of trust and cultural sensitivity.
Absolutely. And for your parents, it just makes the whole experience feel more comfortable and familiar. And for you, the person sponsoring the plan, you get to see what's going on every step of the way through the app. They send you notifications when the doctor arrives, when they leave, and they give you a summary of the visit.
It's like you're there, even if you're miles and miles away.
Exactly. It's all about bridging that distance. It's about giving you peace of mind, knowing that your parents are in good hands, receiving good care, and that they feel loved and supported. I think it's amazing what GeroCare has been able to do. They found this way to combine technology and human compassion. And they're doing it in such a powerful way. They're really meeting a need, and they're doing it with a lot of heart.
And they're not stopping there. It seems like they're always trying to improve and expand what they're doing. They're really committed to changing the way we think about healthcare for the elderly in Nigeria and beyond.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they come up with next.
So what does all this mean for you, our listener?
Well, it means you've got options. You don't have to feel helpless because you're far away. You can take charge of your parents' well-being, even from a distance. GeroCare gives you a way to stay connected. There's a way to show that you care and to give yourself and your parents that peace of mind.
Imagine being able to say, I know my parents are in good hands, even though I'm far away.
It's the future that GeroCare is creating, and it's a future worth being a part of.
We'll be right back with some final thoughts on all of this. And we'll talk about how you can keep learning more about these innovative healthcare solutions. Welcome back. We've been talking all about GeroCare, and it really seems like they're doing something special, using technology to bridge the distance and make sure that aging parents in Nigeria are getting the care they need.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible how they've combined these really high-tech solutions with a focus on the human side of things.
As I was going through all of these interviews and keynotes, something really struck me. We always hear about aging gracefully, but what does that really mean? It seems like these sources are saying it's not just about how you look, it's about having the support you need to live a full life with dignity and as much independence as possible.
It is a good point. And I think it's part of a bigger cultural shift that's happening,
Yeah.
especially with more and more people moving around the globe. Traditionally, taking care of your elders was a family responsibility. It's
Yeah.
really deeply rooted in a lot of African cultures.
Yeah. But now you have younger generations going abroad for work or school, and that distance, it creates new challenges.
Exactly. So you have this kind of tension between wanting to honor those traditional values of respect for elders, but also dealing with the realities of modern life.
Mm.
And it seems like GeroCare is offering a way to balance those two things. It's not just about sending money home, it's about taking action, making sure your parents are okay.
And for people who are living abroad, using a service like GeroCare might actually be better for them financially in the long run.
Yeah, maybe. Preventative care can save a lot of money and stress later on. Catching a health issue early, it's almost always going to be better than waiting until it becomes a crisis. And that peace of mind, knowing that your parents are being looked after, you can't put a price on that.
It's a whole different way of thinking about it, isn't it? We're so used to dealing with problems after they happen. What if we could be more proactive when it comes to our loved ones' health?
That's the kind of thinking that GeroCare seems to be all about, looking ahead. And it's not just about individual families, it's about changing how we, as a society, think about taking care of our elders.
So for our listener who's been really diving deep into this whole world of GeroCare, I think the most important question to ask yourself is, what does aging gracefully mean for your family? And how can you, even from far away, give your parents that support, that connection, and that peace of mind that they deserve?
It's a conversation that's worth having with your family. What do they need? What are they worried about? What do they hope for in their later years?
Hmm.
GeroCare is showing us that distance doesn't have to be a barrier to providing good care. It's about making sure those later years are good years.
It's a good reminder that even though we may be miles apart, there are still ways to stay close, to show our love and care in a real concrete way. Until next time, stay curious and keep on diving deep.